Energized show, up the Irish.
Okay, what's going on, guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Energized, brought to you by Forge Irish Stout. Ross,
are you intoxicated or something?
Welcome home, bud.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Great to be home. Great to be back doing the podcast from the comfort of my own home. Not having to worry, is my internet going to be terrible or what's going on?
Or will you be intoxicated?
Or will I be intoxicated? Because I did like a daytime beer over in Lanzarote. It was nice. So, no, delighted to be home. Probably the only time I've had a better tan than you this year, but
I like to challenge that right now, man. This is a tan off. But we're not sponsored by any fake tan companies yet, Ross.
no.
It's all about Forged Irish Stout, the smoothest, creamiest pints going in the world. When are we going for another one?
Yeah, I think we're going to go for one soon. Now that I'm back, we have to arrange that. We need to go for a creamy one soon. And also, Forged Irish Stout are looking for you to join the Forged Army at the moment. So if you head over to their Instagram page there, you can become brand ambassador for Forged Irish Stout. Well, you can attempt it, you know. You'll have to be looked at and see if they think you're cool enough like us.
No, if you're cooler than us, that's fine. It's not hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Ross, we're into week 3 of The Ultimate Fighter. The last 2 episodes were great crack. And this one, we're back again, Ross.
We are indeed, and it's 3-0 to Chandler and the vets. It looks like the prospects are maybe biting off a lot more than they can chew. This one was an interesting one in the fact that like it was the current LFA champion versus a previous LFA champion at lightweight, and I was like, all right, well, this is like for the imaginary LFA belt right here. When I was going to this one, but I think the talking points of this one were. Obviously, that kid, that little entrepreneur kid, and like the art kid who like made the toys. I think what was he using, like old wrestling figures, and then like painting them. I was like, one of them was definitely like a Vince McMahon body with the suit. He's just like.
I think they said one. I think they said Brock Lesnar was one of the bodies as well.
Yeah, I think it was his legs or something like that, and stuck it on. But I was like, geez, that like they looked like they were bought out of the packet as opposed to sort of shittily painted and done.
No, they were done brilliantly. I would have thought there'd be more figures of Conor anyway. But I saw at the end there was 3 figurines.
Yeah.
Like, what was the middle one with long hair?
You know what? I didn't really see that one. I saw the sort of the suit one and the green UFC shorts. Yeah. That they were sort of the ones that they showed the most. But maybe we'll find that kid's Instagram and see the other ones. But here's a question for you. You know when McGregor took out like that wad of cash? By the way, like how big was that wad of cash, right? Did you think the kid thought he was getting all that money? Because that's what I thought when I saw his face. He looked like he was going to get absolute bankrolled.
Oh, jeez. I don't like. I don't really know that kid's background, obviously, but you would have thought seeing that amount of money at one time wouldn't be an everyday thing. But I think
does he think every time he does a figurine now is worth $400?
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so it looked like Conor bought 3 in the end.
Yeah,
so 400 each.
I love how much he gets like into everything. He's like, oh yeah, and all the fists and they can move and they can do this and that, and like he's like, yeah, Junior loves playing with them.
Well, the thing is, he should have got an extra figurine because he's about to have another child. So congratulations to Conor.
Yeah. Fair play to him, man. Like the McGregor clan's constantly growing. You know what I mean? So it was. I also thought it was funny the way he was like, "Welcome to the UFC, kid."
Yeah. If the kid was smart now, like what other fighter would he make next?
Maybe like a Sean O'Malley. I think would be good.
Sean O'Malley.
Adesanya. Adesanya, yeah. I think
Dana.
Like,
make a
Dana White one.
Or a Bruce Buffer one.
A Bruce Buffer. You know what? I think if they did like select amount of UFC action figures, they'd do well. Like
maybe that kid could do it
for everyone, but like for a few people.
Yeah, but the thing is now, people tuning in, like that was really cool to see that, like, because obviously Conor has millions of followers, so to break through there and for him to actually see your work is not an easy feat to do. So like that other fighters might be like, do you know what, I'd like to get that kid to make me something as well, or even like wrestler. Well, there's loads of wrestlers, but maybe like people that like Formula One drivers or Conor was at the basketball recently as well, Ross. Maybe you can make a what is it? Who's the fella? Nikola Jokic?
Oh, Jokic, yeah.
Jokic one, yeah.
By the way, have you seen that fella do an interview?
No.
Oh man, it's so funny. It's so funny. They're like, "Oh my god, you scored like 25 points, 15 rebounds, and like eight steals or something like that. Like only you and LeBron and Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett ever done that. How's it feel?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's not really a big deal." And they're like, "Oh my god, are you going to the parade?" And he's like, "When's the parade?" It's on Thursday. It's like, nah, I need to go home. You just like whatever they say to him to try and get him like sort of hyped up for something. He's just like, nah.
Who's that remind you of? Who's that
Fedor. When we were trying to buzz off Fedor, it's just like he's not getting it. He's not getting it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No, because the NBA were pushing to get Tatum from the Celtics to be the next LeBron. So yeah, that really didn't work out well.
Yeah, and I also think like it's funny that like a European is now dominating the NBA. So like
it's gone global.
But what you making McGregor knocking out the mascot?
Do you know what? I was listening to Bisping's podcast, and I don't think it's true that your man went to the hospital.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but like,
well, on what punch?
Not for anything serious. Like the second punch.
On what punch?
The
second one.
Yeah. The second one looked like it was Dan Henderson versus Bisping part 2. But guess how much that fella gets paid a year, the mascot? Because I looked into it afterwards.
I say, well, there'd be what 82 games at least.
Yeah,
I say around 100 grand.
Man, he gets paid 600 grand a year. I was like, man, we're in the wrong profession here, man.
Yeah, this is now the mascot podcast.
Yeah.
Apparently, 600 grand.
Yeah, apparently the Las Vegas Knights fella gets paid the most. I was like, jeez, like,
and that'd be
that's a lot.
Lower tax rate as well.
Yeah.
Your brother used to be a mascot as well, wasn't he?
Was he?
Did he not do a few games for Leinster?
I don't actually think he did, but like,
I swear to God, I think he did.
Was that like Joe Kelly or something who did that? No.
No, I thought your brother did a Leinster game before. I don't know.
Did you want to shout out to Leo the Lion anyway?
Yeah.
If you know, you know. If you don't, you won't.
If you don't, you change the channel. But no, but like, I'm surprised the title didn't work either on the mascot or when Conor was on TUF saying if you have like if you can feel pain, like pull it up out of your body and throw it away like a pebble. And then I'm surprised like him coming up with that stuff is actually probably taking away revenue from Tyler Ross.
Yeah, well, I didn't actually really think about it that way, but like, there definitely is a mind over matter sort of psychology to it that, like, I do believe is true that you can't sort of do that, and if you focus on it, and then like between that and like a bit of Wim Hof breathing and stuff like that, I feel like you can definitely like psych yourself out of pain, and I think it is probably something that Conor's used in the past because obviously when you go through a full fighting training camp like that, you know what I mean, like there's a lot of injuries that you're going to pick up along the way that it's one of those things where there have to be a lot of mind over matter. And like you saw McGregor when he fought Poirier in the McGregor Forever documentary that like he had injuries going into a lot of the fights, so it is one thing that you sort of have to overcome. And like it was sort of strange in the documentary, well, not strange, but like most people when they get injured they're like, oh, I'm injured, and then they have to rest for a while. He the way he was sort of describing, like, I think it was in one of the clips I saw, it was like, oh, or maybe it was last week's episode, you know, if your arm's sore, cycle on the bike, use your legs, or if this is sore, do that instead. You know what I mean? There's always something that you can be working on. And I was like, well, that's like such an elite mindset to have.
It is, yeah. He didn't just sit in the couch.
No, he didn't.
Got up and kept working. Well, that's why he's elite. I mean, like, it's just all the extracurricular activities that he gets judged on. Like, he did become championship. He moved, like, he always moved up weight, was never afraid to do it, all this sort of stuff. I mean, I think that stuff gets brushed under the carpet a lot more now these days than ever. Like, for instance, look at Amanda Nunes just after retiring over the weekend, champ as well.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Obviously, she was the opposite to a media sweetheart. She did like next to no media, basically for a majority of her career. Like you only sort of you hear more about Amanda Nunes on the broadcast than you do in any interview you really ever see. So she was a bit of an enigma in that way, but obviously unbelievable talent, greatest women fighter of all time. I actually think those divisions would probably grow without her now because I think they'll become more competitive. Like sort of the next step caliber down, I think like there's 4 or 5 women there who could all maybe potentially beat each other, and none of them probably could have beaten her. So like there's a lot to say, and I do feel like you were touching on earlier, Conor's actual accolades in the sport sometimes aren't given enough credence what he actually went and done. And like he created this idea of people moving weight classes and fighting other title challengers, and like he's like a Harlem Globetrotter in a way, you know what I mean? Like he's one of these guys who like people just can't take their eyes off, and like they're mesmerized by him when he gets in there, and he does do stuff that people don't normally do, and he does have this sort of unique look at fighting, like the way like he was hitting like Cerrone with the shoulder shots. Like he sees these techniques that other people don't see.
Yeah, do you remember he brought in the movement coach as well, and like everyone
Yeah,
everyone in Dublin was moving differently.
yeah, but but other fighters start getting movement coaches then being like, oh, what is this guy doing?
Yeah, but
Ido
it's that extra.
Portal.
It's that extra, like those 1% differences that make the difference. You know what I mean? That makes it from a champ to a champ.
Yeah, but like GSP was mad for doing gymnastics back in the day. You know what I mean? Like no one else doing gymnastics, and he was the best. So like maybe there was something to that. And obviously, when Conor brought in Ido Portal, part of I'm sure having a movement coach, part of it is gymnastic-esque workouts. So what do they call it? Calisthenics, where you sort of just do body work, body weight stuff. So like, look, there's no denying the success he's had inside and outside the cage. So like, it's just cool to see him on the TV once a week. You know, you're guaranteed to get at least like 20 minutes of him.
And Forged Irish Stout.
Yeah,
Ross, we'll bring it back. So in prospects going into the fight, Chandler was winning 2-0, and then it was Conor McGregor's team. Mackenzie was taking on Chandler's Hubbard. Hubbard had previously fought in the UFC 7 times. He's now 31. Mackenzie was the prospect at 34 years old, Ross.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Do you remember the fella quit on the stool? Was that Hubbard, or was Hubbard fighting that guy?
I can't really recall, but
Okay.
I don't feel like if you quit in the stool that they don't have him back.
get
I feel like
back.
there's a certain criteria, because even Austin Hubbard had some stories about his brother passing away.
And then he lost a kid as well. I think.
He lost a kid as well, yeah. And then I think something happened to Mackenzie as well. Like I'm not too sure. I can't really remember off the top of my head. But it seems like everyone has this sort of background story. I'm sure it makes me think like every fighter that was brought on, not only could you fight, but there had to be some sort of background story as well with it.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously he's been through a lot. Like he was in debt. He's working for his dad, I think it was. Which is he actually won. A fella, he fought Max Roshkop. I just looked it up there, and the other fella quit on the stool. So like, and look, Chandler was saying he's the most well-rounded fighter in the gaff as well, which is a big. He was sort of all over the place. He was moving out to Denver to train, couldn't really afford to do it, but he was doing it anyway. You know what I mean? These are the sacrifices these sort of people make. So great to see him get the win.
I don't think you mentioned the background for both of them as well.
No, I was about to touch on Mackenzie there. There was something about Mackenzie's mindset that I wasn't actually as like sort of. I wasn't as confident in it, if that makes sense. Like when he was sort of like, it's okay, I lost because you all love me, that sort of thing. I was a bit like, well, I'm pretty sure they wanted you to win. Like I'm pretty sure like the goal was for you to go out here and win and start providing for your family with fighting. I just didn't think. I didn't think he wanted it as much when he was like talking about his family and stuff like that. I felt like he was almost grateful to be there as opposed to trying to prove a point that like he deserved to be here. And I think that touches back on episode 1 when Roosevelt Roberts was like, look, some people, when you've had it and you've lost it, like that hunger to get it back. And I think that really showed in this one. And I just didn't actually think McKenzie was the level as well in the fight. I thought like his striking was a bit laboured at times, and like he just almost accepted losing. I thought at one stage.
Do you know what? I agree with the strike. That was one thing when I was watching both of them. I was like, right, 7-fight UFC vet, and then McKenzie is the LFA champion. And then when I was watching his striking in the build-up, I was just like, and he's 34. I was sort of like,
It was
where
very
did this
slow
really go?
looking. It looked
Yeah,
like I
but-
could dodge one of the punches. I was like,
well, let's
Right.
not go too far here, man.
yeah,
But I mean, the way when he was going in, then he actually landed some really good strikes. Then, so I was sort of like, beforehand, I didn't think he looked that good, but then he did actually land some really effective strikes.
yeah, no, definitely. He's definitely unorthodox. I always sort of say, if you're very elite at striking, aka like in Israel Adesanya, it's probably easier to get good at grappling because like you can learn a lot of the defensive grappling, if that makes sense. But I think if you're very good at grappling, it's very hard to be like extremely good at striking because
Yeah.
I feel it's more of a natural rhythm that some people have and some people don't. And I feel like McKenzie doesn't have it. And like, I don't mean to be bad, but I don't feel like Aaron McKenzie's ever going to get to a top UFC level. I just don't think the striking's going to evolve. And
What?
I don't mean to be that ruthless on the guy.
No, this is getting
That's-
edited out.
that's-
That has to be edited out. Jeez.
that's the way it is, I think.
What?
Just don't think he's going to get to the level, man.
Right, that's getting edited out. I can't believe you said that. No offense, but Hubbard looked like
Yeah,
Hubbard.
Hubbard looked like he already deserves to be in the UFC still.
Yeah,
I was like, right, that was a good performance by him.
yeah, like Hubbard and Roosevelt, they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that's a UFC fight when the two of them fight. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what it is? I think when this season was announced and you actually looked at the names and you were like, right, well, like, I fully know all these UFC vets and like I've seen them fight. It's not like they had one fight on like the undercard of a fight night and then got dropped. Like, all these vets seem to have at least 2 or 3 fights minimum in the UFC, and some
yeah, but
way
7
more.
fights, like, and
Yeah.
he's only 31 now. It's like, no, I know where I'm putting my money on.
Exactly.
Yeah, bring it back to the well before we finish on this week's Ultimate Fighter episode 3, make sure to check it out as well.
Only on UFC
The-
Fight Pass
Yeah, or in the Black Forge Inn. They show it every week on a Tuesday.
or on Virgin
Um,
Media now apparently as well at some stage.
I saw that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
And ESPN, but they don't sponsor us. So watch it in UFC Fight
Yeah.
Pass and say,
Yeah.
Energized sent you. You were mentioning the striking, bring the striking in at a later, like at a later age. That's why but like grappling, you can improve in your grappling if you're a great striker. That's where all this like talk about Tyson Fury fighting John Jones in the UFC is all coming around. It's funny how like these sort of things can just take over your news feed for ages. It's like, is Tyson Fury really going to do this?
Yeah,
Seems like a lot of the
Adesanya
media-
on Logan Paul's podcast there recently.
I think it was a couple of weeks ago. He was just on Andrew Schultz's there the other day, and he was on with Ariel.
Maybe it was on Andrew Schultz's one that he was. It definitely wasn't on Ariel's one. I was on one of those ones, and he was saying that if like Tyson Fury just worked on the sprawl for like a year, he thinks Tyson Fury have a good chance of beating John Jones. I was like, jeez, it's mad. Like, put it this way: what would be your interest in seeing them fight in MMA out of 10, and what would be your interest to see them fight in boxing out of 10?
Tyson Fury and John Jones.
Yeah,
Do you know what? The production side of the UFC is just in another. It's in a league of its own. Because like I was watching, Teofimo Lopez against Josh Taylor on ESPN, and the production side of it like just doesn't grab your attention as much. And then like I think Matchroom do a good job, but like, am I missing any other?
no,
Big
I think Matchroom is the closest, but I think Matchroom sort of tried to copy UFC model.
Yeah.
I think Eddie Hearn said that. Like he said, like he loves the way UFC do stuff. So like,
yeah.
but
So
even
like,
when Tyson Fury's fighting, like I don't think like the ring walk is all a bit like is a bit much. It's not the same as like when Anthony Joshua does his ring walk. Like despite the fact he has far less charisma, like he's like coming out of a podium out of the sky or something, or you know what I mean. Like there's far two of them were like Stormzy's walking out doing some sort of rap, or even Katie Taylor in the 3 Arena. Like everyone thought it was long, but like you could tell there was a lot of money put into it.
I'd rather watch them box each other.
Would you?
Yeah, I just don't think it makes sense in an MMA fight.
I think I'd rather watch the MMA just because we haven't seen someone of that level come over and do MMA. So like I'd like to see it, and I'd like to see how fast John Jones would be able to take someone like Tyson Fury down. Because obviously Tyson Fury would have a size advantage, but I think they'd have to do some sort of new weight class because I don't know if Tyson Fury can make 265 pounds.
But he could just finish him quicker than he finished Ciryl Gane. And
yeah, but you probably have to pay him a bit more respect on the way in, though. So,
Ciryl Gane's a kickboxer.
Yeah,
and knows how to MMA.
Well, it didn't look like it in the fight.
No, you see a deer in headlights there. No, here, look.
In fairness, whatever. If they fight in any aspect, I'll watch it, and my level of interest won't be below.
Of course, you're gonna watch it.
Yeah, so give it to me. Well, in fairness, like if I could watch John Jones fight Tyson Fury in MMA or boxing, or I could watch John Jones fight Pavlovich, like from a purist point of view, like I'd love to watch him fight Pavlovich, but like in terms of like doing numbers and like the build up, I just don't think it would do much.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm just sick and tired of talking about fights that could happen. Let's talk about fights that are happening, like, or else make fights. Like, there's a backlog of fights there. Like, obviously the Conor and Chandler one. Conor was just on saying that he's going to fight in November, December.
Yeah,
whereas we're going to find out soon exactly when that is, because I can't wait to start hyping that up as if we aren't already. Like, when's Chimaev coming back? Is he fighting Newsman?
I think that one like is almost rumored too much for it not to happen. I thought 294 is that the Abu Dhabi card?
Oh my god!
So like, if that happens, I'm all for it.
Yeah, well, like I think after International Fight Week, a lot more fights will then become open. Open. Like, when's Adesanya coming back? I want to see him back. You know
what? They'll probably do that thing where they do like the press conference at International Fight Week with all the fighters for the next season. That makes sense. The next 3 or 4 pay-per-views. So that's always something to look forward to. And I love when you get so many fighters on stage, because like you never know where the beef's going to come from, but like the beef is definitely going to be there somewhere.
Yeah.
But Baz, do you want to talk about fights that are made? Why don't we start with?
Hold on. Sorry, just wrapping up on TUF then before we get into some of the Irish news. Next week, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is going to be on the Ultimate Fighter episode 4 as well, so that's going to be interesting to show some of his striking background as well. And then the fight that was meant to happen last week was it Timur Valiev?
Yeah, against Wells, Trevor Wells.
Against Wells, yeah. So like that. So I think that one is going to be a more exciting episode as well.
Yeah.
For ahead, Ross.
Yeah, so we sort of sat on this news for a couple of weeks and obviously got broken last week. Shauna Bannon has signed to the UFC, and she'll make her debut at UFC London, and she's going to fight Brazil. Not the person, the fighter.
The country.
So Baz, what do you make of this fight for Shauna Bannon, and how excited are you to get signed to the UFC?
How excited am I for Shauna to be signed to the UFC?
Yeah.
Unbelievably, Ross. We've had her on numerous times as an amateur. I think we like. I'm not hyping us up or anything, but like one of the reasons why we got signed to the UFC is because we were looking at the landscape and up and coming talent and being like, look, we're good at spotting talent, and then when they signed, it's like, how did you know? It's just like, here, blame Ross. But Shauna, like, even going through Ian's whole trajectory, like, we were the people that started putting him on loads. Now he's in the UFC, and like, we're going to talk about his fight coming up. Like, then like Shauna the whole way through as well, and now she's in the UFC. Like, it's Ireland's a hotbed at the moment. Am I surprised? I would have thought she would have fought for the Invicta title and then went. But I mean, when you're a star, and they can see it. So they're all about that star power, and like, even when you're around her, you're like, she's special. So am I surprised? No. Congratulations, Paddy. I saw Chris Fields tweet out, Paddy's the first ever Irish UFC fighter to fight in the UFC and then coach someone into the UFC as well, Ross.
Yeah, incredible to see. Look, Paddy and Shauna have a very special relationship. Shauna is someone, like you said, we've looked at for a very long time. It seems to be, funnily enough, the catalyst for her career was obviously the birth of her son. She's undefeated since he's been born, and we're now all living in the Mama B era, as she describes it.
Who
like,
isn't?
very tough opponent first time out, Bruna Brazil. Her nickname is the Special One, but she's fighting Ireland's version of the Special One on this occasion. It's a bit of a baptism by fire for her, but like, I think she'll cherish the moment. I don't think the moment will get to her. I think she'll love the walk out. I think she'll really soak it all in. And look, like, this one seems to be a bit of a striker's delight, and Bruna Brazil actually got finished by strikes in her last fight, so that's something that Shauna will definitely be looking at. And look, she's over there. She's training in Next Gen as well with Molly McCann. I'm sure she probably gets a few rounds in with Liam McCourt. She trains with the likes of Nadine Ababissa and Sarah Carney over here, and a load of lads at Hula Martial Arts. She does a bit of striking in DCA with Collie Mann as well. So like, look, she's getting in the work. She seems to be one of the hardest workers in the country. She seems to put everything on point. Like her food and all seems to always be on point. Her training seems to be on point. So look, I'm excited to see how it goes for her, and I'm excited to follow her trajectory. Like she said, like, I think she said on Pete's podcast about halfway through it that she's not here just to like make up the numbers. Like, she's here to become champion. And that's something that she's trained for a long time. And look, she's been competing her whole life. I think she's 20 odd years of combat sports experience. So look, she's definitely one to keep an eye on for those who don't know her already.
Oh, definitely. Like, definitely. I think there's going to be a massive boom. She can ignite that fire, because obviously, like, only yourself, Ian, and Conor are in the UFC, and Conor's the globetrotter, as you said. And Ian's living. I think he's moving to Brazil, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then like Shauna's like living in Dublin. So I mean, she's a star. She's an absolute star. Like, it's like undeniable.
Yeah, and then speaking of Ian Gary, it's announced he's going to fight in Boston, UFC 292. The perfect place to put him, and he's going to fight against Jeff Neal. We were saying Neil Magny, even though Neil Magny has a fight booked, but he's fighting the other Neil, Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal, I think. Did he lose the last fight to Shavkat? But then the fight before, he beat Vicente Luque, which is interesting because they're both obviously Killcliff fighters, or have trained heavily out of there. And obviously that's where Ian's sort of main gym is. So it's interesting that this will be a third time in a row that Jeff Neal's fighting someone from Killcliff. So I'm sure Ian will get a load of tips and sort of looks in from those guys. And who knows, maybe Ian helped those guys prepare for Jeff Neal last time out, and has studied Jeff Neal for a while.
Yeah, I think going into his last fight against Daniel Rodriguez, I was sort of like, oh, this could be 50-50. But like, after watching the fight, it was like, I couldn't believe I even thought Daniel Rodriguez had a 50% chance in this, because Ian absolutely blew him out of the water. And then after watching Jeff Neal getting savaged by Shavkat Rakhmonov, I think Ian is on another level to Jeff Neal as well. So in an ideal world, Ian cleans out Jeff Neal, gets on the mic and says it's time to go back to Dublin. We get a UFC Dublin in January potentially.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it'll work out perfect. Shauna fighting in July, Ian fighting in August. Like we should definitely get a Dublin either in January, or why not get a fight night in December? Like,
yeah, why not?
December schedule is not fully booked. Let's get one there.
Yeah.
But look, great week for Irish MMA. Great bit of news coming out there, and hopefully we'll see the others follow soon. Like, you're almost sick of beating the drum about like a Reece McKee, Caelan Loughran, and Paul Hughes over and over again each week. But look, it has to be said, those guys are next, and of course Danny McCormack as well. I'm sure seeing Shauna get signed was probably bittersweet for her, but at the end of the day, like,
I'd still say Kiefer Crosby as well.
Oh, Kiefer, of course, yeah, no, definitely, especially after seeing Cowboy Oliveira get a win at Titan after Kiefer Crosby knocked him out of the park. But like, there you go, like, there's so many that like you almost don't want to name them because you might leave someone out. Yeah. So there it is. But look, what's good for the goose, good for the gander. Great to have Sean in there, and hopefully we'll have a load more follow.
Exactly. So shout out to Carl Moore and Richie Smullen competing this Friday as well. And on Saturday, Victoria's taking Cannoneer in Vegas. So Ross, take us away, bud.
Guys, thanks a million for everyone who has watched or listened on Spotify. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, smash that subscribe button. You know you want to. And as always, stay energized.
Energized show, up the Irish. Been sussing you guys a couple of times. I've seen a couple of clips. I think you done some interviews with Dylan Moran and that I saw. So keep going, keep up the good work, guys.